Hey everybody, it's Snow. So this is not what I intended for my first video, but we're gonna go with it. I am in the process of redecorating and modernizing my whole house. I got left with a lot of yellows and browns and golds, and I actually toured a model home in Florida when we were on vacation and fell in love with grays. That's a whole other thing. I'll tell you about how I do my paint and figured out the right color and all that stuff, but for today, you can see what I'm doing. The kitchen was yellow and it has yellow backsplash, and I really just didn't feel like investing the time or the money right now in ripping out the walls and redoing actual tile. So I started looking into alternatives and I came up with these amazing 3D stick-on tiles, and I thought, well, that could look really cheesy. So I wasn't sure, but I went ahead and bought a box and I tried it out and I really liked it. So whether it's, you know, somewhat temporary, if you're living in a rental place, or whether you really fall in love with this and you just leave it forever, then it's so worth the money. I'm doing my whole kitchen backsplash and I think I've spent less than $250, and it's only taken me a couple of hours. Now I gotta say that I didn't order enough in advance, obviously, because I was just trying it, so I did have to wait. But other than that, it goes pretty fast. So I was just gonna tell you kind of some of the things that I learned along the way and show you real basically how I'm doing it. So you can obviously see that's the color prior to. It's pretty gross. And then the sections that are already done are looking relatively nice. I am not a camera person. This is not a professional video. I'm just telling you. So anyway, I'm really happy with it, and let me show you how I did it. So obviously we're starting at a place that's a little bit weird because it's got this outlet here. So that's one of the first things that you want to do is go around and just remove your outlet plates. And if you end up in the end, if your situation is different than mine, they may be set further in or whatnot, and so you may end up having to put the covers back on with slightly longer screws if it sets out further. For me, this was fine. It obviously sits further back, and these covers that I had slid right back on, no big deal. So one thing that is really important is to just clean your towel beforehand, or your you can actually put this right over drywall as well. So for me, this was a big deal to not have to rip out all this glass, and so being able to put it over. Now obviously I've already scrubbed this down. You can see it's still got gross stains in the grout that I cannot get out, but either way, I'm still, regardless, going to hit it with an extra spritz of alcohol. And I'm just going to use a paper towel and wipe it down, and that way it just gets any excess oils or anything that might have flown around the kitchen since I stopped working on this yesterday to make the surface ready for the tiles. So I love these tiles because they line up so super easily. You'll see that they've got this little thing here that says overlap here, and the tiles just end up fitting really nicely in. I'll have to cut out a piece for this outlet so that it doesn't cover that, but it's so easy. The tools that I'm using are really just razor knife, scissors, and a regular kitchen cutting board, just so I don't slice through my counters or anything weird. But anyway, when you do start, like for instance, when I started on the other side of the kitchen, let me bring the slide around so you can see a little bit better. But when I started on the other side of the kitchen, it was a straight side, and you actually have to trim down this jagged side first and start that way, or you will be messed up all the way around. So if I was starting here, I would actually just trim down the side to the shortest place, and then I would go from here and I would layer on the tiles. Okay, obviously that doesn't make sense to start over here, which is why I started on the other side. But anyway, here we go. So when I lay this over, I can see where it's gonna line up. This part's pretty simple. I actually was just using a Sharpie but it doesn't really matter. It's easy to write on, and it's got a plastic film on it that you take off at the end. So it doesn't matter if you write right on it right now. So I'm just gonna kind of like make a mark. That's the top of my outlet. We don't have to be fancy. There's extra space around here. So I'm just gonna kind of mark it, and then I'm just gonna take my scissors and cut it. And hope that I marked it properly, because that's a big deal. So measure twice, mark twice, cut once. Anyway, that's what they say. I'm a little hard-headed, so I don't know about that. But anyway, all right, here we go. So there you go. It's fine, and the cover will cover any jagged parts. Okay, so then what I want to do is, there's this backing on it. Oh yeah, I figured out that if you just take the corner, not the rounded corner, and push it back, it's the easiest way to get it to peel. I actually read online on some of the reviews that people are like, it won't peel. Well, it will. You just have to pinch the corner back and then it will come apart. Okay, so I'm just going to, one, make sure that all that alcohol is completely dry so I don't screw myself up here. And then I'm gonna make sure that it sits down level on the bottom first, but also that these little fake grout lines line up. And then I'm just gonna lay it into place. And then I'm gonna start at one side and just make sure there's no bubbles or anything weird. It sticks down pretty evenly and well every time that I've done it, so I'm not really worried about it too much. And then I'm just gonna kind of go around and push down to make sure it's all the way in place. And it's got this plastic film. Don't forget to take this off, because I actually did that once, and then I went over it with the next tile and it stuck to the plastic instead of the tile, and then I ruined the whole tile. So anyway, don't do that. Make sure you take this off at the end. What I do love about these two is that they are very shiny, so they look like the glass tiles. Okay, I love how they catch the light and reflect it. And honestly, these things have been so forgiving. I've got some really troublesome spots that I've gone over, and it really hasn't been a big deal. Okay, so anyway, that's how you kind of go around. And I went around and I did as much as I could around the first layer, just to get this bottom portion in place. I will tell you this, a little trick. Don't cut for your corners. Just lay it in. Let it loop around the corner and bend. Once you get the backing off, it'll actually fit in there just fine. And it actually looks pretty cool, rounded. And also it looked kind of weird when I tried it without rounding the corner, because it leaves this old color grout spot that then you have to figure out what you're doing with. So it really lends itself well to just going right around the corner without having to do another cut, which is nice. All right, so then what's next is, let me grab my scissors. We obviously have to come back and to work on this bit that's left above, okay? And so again, the nice part about these tiles is that they all just fit over top of each other. So I can lay this right up here and say, oh, well, I need the big fat one and two skinnier ones, and then just cut what I need. So for this, I don't have a lot of the grout. So this is one thing you have to pay attention to. I don't have a lot of this gray fake grout on this side. So when I cut this one, I'm actually going to make sure that I cut pretty close and get as much of that gray on the bottom as I can, so I'm sure that it overlaps. Now for me, some spots laid in perfectly. I discovered that my walls and my cabinets and my countertops are not exactly straight, so that was fun. But so right here, it looks like these three are going to fit just perfectly and go right up under the counter and cabinets. No big deal. Some places it did not, and so I had to cut in weird place. It doesn't matter. This stuff is so forgiving. So one of the other things that I found was, after I came around this last corner over here, was down here at the bottom, in order to line everything up and keep it going straight, I actually had a gap, which really made me angry. But I have to tell you, all I did was cut little tiny strips. So just don't be afraid. And the thing about it is once it sticks down, it's good and solid. But if you might make a little mistake, you can pull it right back up. So it took me a minute to get these cut just right. And these are literally just tiny strips that I have cut off of the bottom of one of these sections. Just, I mean, you can measure if you want. I eyeball stuff, but whatever. So anyway, all right, so I'm gonna cut this last little bit and just show you how to finish the top. The other nice thing is when you're standing back, you're not gonna see all the way up under the counter. I mean, it's been pretty clean, but the lines and whatnot, you're really not gonna see when you step back. And actually, even these spots here where they were weird, when I step back, I cannot even tell, which is so cool because I'm a little bit anal, but you really can't be when you do this kind of project. So anyway, again, I'm just gonna pinch the corner, and I'm going to maybe get my fingernail behind that. Here we go. Okay, there it goes. All right, so then I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna line everything up. And I guess I could trim that little tiny piece because that's gonna bother me, but it wouldn't show. But anyway, all right, so I'm gonna line this up, make sure that the grout covers all the little spots, and just lay it in. Check and make sure that it, oops, see, I got a little teeny tiny spot right there. Boy, that was really fast. I probably just got sick. Anyway, went over the tile. So I'm going to just pull that right back off, and I'll just show you. This is so easy. It's not a big deal. So I'm just going to, actually, let me get my razor knife because I can't get a hold of it. There. So I'm just going to pull it up a little bit. Trim this down. I'm sorry if I'm in front of the camera. Okay, so I just trimmed it down with my scissors, and now it fits perfectly. It's not over one of these tiles. It's in place. I'm gonna push everything down, make sure that I seal these edges and whatnot. Oh, look at that. I made another boo-boo. So it's showing a little bit right here, and I can do one of two things. I can just pull this back up again and just replace it. Or honestly, I've taken parts of the gray from other tiles that I couldn't use anymore and just put it right in there, and I swear you cannot see it. So anyway, I know that seems a little weird, but you know, I'm not trying to do a tile job here. I'm just trying to get it covered and to look nice. So I'm gonna opt to go ahead and go back over this one just because I can. And it also helps to show you guys just how forgiving these are. So that was kind of the point of this. So how this all came about is that I actually shared a post on my neighborhood page, and I had a bunch of my friends, especially my girlfriends, love the look of it and ask me how I did it, how it went, and then also they were a little scared. So anyway, that's why I'm doing this video, because it's super easy. So that's in place, and that's it. That's all there is to it. So you just make sure you start with the flat side first and trim one edge off, and that gives you this side where they overlap to go from there. And then when you're trimming out the top, you just kind of have to do it piece by piece and measure it as you go, or just eyeball it. So then I'm going to go back and put the outlet covers back on, and I'm done. This was so easy and so inexpensive. Anyway, I hope this helps, and happy remodeling.